Hi, nobody. This is going to be another rambly video where I don't have any sort of structure, and I'm not even gonna talk about music genres. Um, basically, there's this argument everywhere if music should be related to religion or politics or ideology, etc. And a lot of people, weirdly enough, say no. Um, and here's the thing: music and politics and religion have been always intertwined. Always. Like all art. Um, basically, most of music's history is related to religion, by definition. Centuries and centuries of it are related to religion. Um, all classical music comes from religious music. A lot of compositions by Bach or even Vivaldi himself, he was a priest, Mozart, Scarlatti. A lot of them were just religious pieces. They wrote masses, they wrote requiem. Um, so religion is a big part of music since really early on. Gregorian chanting, all ritual music. In fact, music has probably got. It's usually argued that the origins of music are related to rituals. So essentially religion. And in terms of politics, that's actually also the case. Not probably not as it's not as old, but it has been related, and there's a really good reason for that. Always, when a culture makes a new type of music, it's because of a situation in their social lives. If without slavery, for example, all of African American music, Black American music, however you want to call it, wouldn't exist because work songs and gospel come from slaves and their general situation, and their communities. All music that has any historical relation to Black American music is necessarily that. It has a social background. And even later, styles that actually have a lot of people that argue that politics shouldn't be involved. Metal comes from a situation, a social situation. Metal was born from poor people. Metal wasn't created by rich people, and mostly not middle class people either. Poor people made metal, and poor people created the community of metal, and then it expanded later. Same with punk, same with folk, American folk, that is. Traditional folk comes from way back, probably ritually. Music has been used as a way to express opinions, and that's something that was used in medieval times even. Back then, poems were sung, not spoken. So, any time that there's been a complaint about society, or a jab at a political leader, something like that, in a poem from that era, from medieval times and even earlier and quite a bit later, that was a song, most likely. So by definition, it's political music. And basically everything that we do, especially in terms of creativity, is intrinsically politic and related to our religious views. We will not talk about certain things as easily if we have a bias against them. Which means, for example, there's always the case about Slayer, for example, where it's said that Tom Araya is a Catholic, okay? But who writes the Satanist lyrics? It's not him. He sings them, but he doesn't write them. He writes about other subjects. Same with, for example, if we take Burzum, Varg is extremely racist, and if you say no to that, you're probably racist too, or you live in a world where no one is racist, which is your imagination, because there's a lot of racism still nowadays. So Varg is extremely racist. Varg is an anti-Semitic person. He's considerably bigoted. His vision of Norse culture and mythology and of the way the gods function in a way will be different than, for example, if we take the viewpoint from Mirgraf, whose sole member, whose name I don't remember right now, is openly anti-racist. Their viewpoint is different by default, essentially. We are tied to what we believe. We can push beyond that, but generally we will not go places that we don't like. For example, there's the case of ACXDC, who are a power violence band, and the name stands for Antichrist Demon Corps, and some of the members were Christian, but they were not offended by Satanism. They didn't have a problem with that, and that is reflected in the fact that they were in a band called that had some deeply anti-Christian themes. They still were Christian, but the fact that they didn't care that much about it means that they were able to do it. Take any other Christian that's a bit more conservative or a bit more closed in that regard, they will not do it. Never. Because their views don't allow it. Same with everything. So, yep. We cannot separate music from politics and social issues and religion, because history tells us that that's how music is made, how music appears in the world, and because we are biased. We have a bias against things. I don't listen to anything that is made by an active racist, or by an active misogynist, or by an active homophobe, etc., by neo-Nazis. But someone, but I will listen to, for example, Iskra or Leper or I don't know, Napalm Death, because I have a bias against bigotry, specifically, and I don't have an issue with extreme leftist ideologies. And same goes for everyone in the spectrum. People who are capitalistic in nature will most likely be against people who are fascists, or people who are in the far left of the spectrum, because all ideologies in the far left, or well, almost all ideologies in the left in general, and the fascist circles in nature, later there's mixing of stuff, but in nature they are in theory anti-capitalist. So there's obviously a bias by someone who is a capitalist or by someone who isn't against the other. So yeah, that's kind of it, pretty much it. Life's how it is because we are biased and because we cannot escape our human condition. Thank you very much. I'm sorry about my English as always, and goodbye.